Hello and welcome. This is Rashid Khan and you're watching my YouTube channel. This video will cover key information on topic called circles. If you look into your past exam papers, you'll find a variety of questions on this topic indicating that this topic is of prime importance. It is not hard to answer questions on this topic provided you consider the key information that is discussed in this video before you start working on any question on this topic. So let us have a look at that key information together. The first thing is we need to know how to describe a given shape related to circles. So what I'm going to do is I am going to draw a circle, and at the same time I will draw a portion of circle. From the center I can draw a line touching the boundary. This line has a special name. It is called radius. I will now draw another line that will start from this location and will touch that location, and at the same time it will pass through the center of the circle. If this is the case, this line is now called diameter. If you pay attention to it, you can see there is a relationship between radius and diameter. That relationship is that diameter d is basically equal to one radius and another radius, because this is radius, this is radius. So if I add two radii together, that makes one diameter. If I simplify it further, it will change to diameter being equal to 2 times radius. That's relationship number one. But I can rearrange this and make r my subject, and for that I will have to divide both sides by 2. If I divide both sides by 2, I will end up with d over 2 is equal to r. The boundary of the circle, when you have a complete circle, has a special name. So we don't use word perimeter for this boundary. We will use word circumference. So this is absolute basic that you need to know. This line, which is from the center to the circumference, is called radius. If you have a line starting from one side of the circumference and it touches the other side of the circumference and it also passes through the center of the circle, then that line is called diameter. And the boundary of the circle, the complete circle, is called circumference. You also need to know that diameter is related to the radius by this equation, or you can say the second equation. Now what I have done here is I've taken a slice out of the circle. So again, I'm going to say this is my center of the circle being represented by O. We can put O here as well. So in this case, I can say this is the outer section of the circle, so I can call this side radius and I'll call this side my radius as well. Let's put r to represent radius and lowercase d to represent diameter. This length, the boundary here, has a special name now. It is not called circumference anymore. It will now be called arc length. This shape, which is portion of a circle, is called sector. So you need to know this piece of information to describe a given shape, which is either a circle or a sector. Now, when it comes to the exam questions, I can put them in categories. And when I categorize the questions which will be given to you in exam, the first category will be calculating area of a given shape. It could be a circle or a sector. While the second category will be calculating the perimeter of the shape. It could be a circle or a sector. So let's consider those two situations. I can further divide this section into two categories. I can say it will be either a circle or it will be a sector. My circle will have a shape like this, whereas my sector will have a shape like this. Now, if you look at these two shapes here, you can clearly see here when it is about a circle, the total angle in a circle will be 360. So I can say the value of angle in this case will be 360. While in case of sector, the value of angle will be less than 360. Once I've identified these two pieces of information, now I can write down a general formula that will allow me to calculate the area of circle as well as sector. That formula can be written in terms of radius and it can also be written in terms of diameter. So let's first write down in terms of radius. The formula is area equals angle divided by 360 times by pi r squared. That's my first formula. I will use this formula when I know the radius of the circle. If I know the diameter instead of the radius, then I will use formula which is area equals, again, angle divided by 360 times pi d squared over 4. To get this formula, what I have done is I've said here r is basically equal to half of the diameter, and if I use this fact and replace my r with d over 2 and then square it, it will change to d squared over 4. Now this formula works for both, just you have to remember in the first case my angle will be 360. In the second case the angle will be less than 360. If you know the radius, go for the first formula. If you know the diameter, go for the second formula. If I look at these two formulas carefully, what I can see in this case is both of these formulas contain three unknowns. The question will provide you values of the two and they'll ask you to find the third. What are those three unknowns? It's going to be area, angle, and the radius in the first formula. In the second case, it's going to be area, angle, and diameter. So I can see there will be three types of questions which you will be asked on the use of these two formulas. The type 1 will be, let's say, area will be known, angle will be known, radius will need to be calculated. I can say diameter or radius. Type 2 question will be where they'll give you angle will be known, diameter or radius will be known, and area will need to be calculated. And the type 3 question will be where they will give you the value of area. They will also give you the value of diameter or the radius, and they'll ask you to find the value of angle. Based on my experience, students don't struggle with type 2 questions, but they struggle with type 1 and type 3 questions. And this is mainly because they don't write down the formula that they have to use in order to answer the question. So what my recommendation is, if you want to do good on calculating areas of circles or sectors, you must read the question carefully, work out what information is given to you, then decide which of the two formula you're going to use, write it down, and then substitute values and solve. And if you follow this method, you'll always hopefully come up with the right answer. So this is all about the area side of the circles. Now let's consider the other side. When it comes to perimeters, we'll have again two situations. They may ask you to work out the perimeter of circle, which is full circle, or they may ask you to work out the perimeter of sector. Now you have to remember in this case, when it is about the circle, they'll not use word perimeter anymore. They will use word circumference. So here perimeter will be same as circumference. In this case, it will still remain perimeter. So I can draw the shape for the sector. It will be a shape like this. Remind yourself once again, for a complete circle, the angle will have a value of 360, whereas for a sector, the value of angle will be less than 360. Just like in case of area, we also have general formula to calculate the circumference or the arc length. So I can say my circumference slash arc length can be calculated by a formula which is angle over 360 times by 2 pi times r. This is in terms of radius. We have another formula in terms of diameter. That one is circumference slash arc length will be equal to theta over 360 times by pi times d. Now, to get this formula from the top one, what I have done basically is I've made use of the fact that diameter is equal to 2 times r. So I replaced this 2r with d, and this gives me the second formula, which is angle over 360 times pi d. So when it comes to the circle side, the job is easy. All you have to do is just use the formula and work out the answer. But when it comes to the sector side, things are a little bit more complicated. So to find the perimeter of this sector, what you will need to do is, I could write down perimeter of sector will be equal to arc length plus 2 times r. Now you might be thinking, why am I adding this 2r to it? I have to add 2r to it because if I go back here, you can see perimeter means the boundary of the shape, and the boundary of the shape contains this r, and then this arc length, here, and here it's going to be the angle theta. So this is how you work out the perimeter. So I've written here perimeter of the sector will be given by this formula, which is arc length plus 2 times r. Just like in case of area formula, we've got 3 unknowns: area, angle, and the radius or the diameter. We also have 3 unknowns for these formulas as well. It's going to be either the circumference or arc length, the angle. Third unknown will be my radius. In this case, it's going to be the circumference, arc length, angle, or the diameter. So 3 types of questions that you can expect on the use of this section only will be type 1 questions will be where they'll give you the circumference slash arc length. This is known. I can say angle is known, radius or the diameter will need to be calculated. That's my type 1. In type 2, they'll give you the angle will be known, radius or the diameter will be known, and the circumference or arc length will need to be calculated. Type 3 questions will be where they'll give you the value of radius or the diameter will be known, circumference or the arc length will be known, and they'll ask you to work out the value of angle. Now, just like I told you, people don't struggle with type 2 questions here. Same is the case here. This one is easier to complete, but the type 1 questions are a bit harder for students for the same reason that they don't write down the complete formula. So when they are substituting values, they make a mistake on that because they have nothing on the left side for the arc length or the circumference. So my recommendation is going to be the same. Read out the question, identify what information is given to you, then choose one of the two formulas, whichever can help you solve the question. And then substitute the values and solve it as an equation, and hopefully you'll come up with the right answer. Just remind yourself about this here, that this is how you work out the perimeter of the sector. So the perimeter of the sector will require you to do one additional step. First, you'll have to work out the arc length, and whatever the value of the arc length will be, you will add 2 times the radius to it, and that will then make it the perimeter of the sector. I have gone through the key information on this topic, which you must consider while you're producing your answers on this topic. Now, sometimes the exam questions will make things a little bit more complicated for you, but as long as you stick to the method, you will not find it difficult. Let's consider one of those examples. So what I'll now do is I'll take a shape called sector. They'll give you the perimeter. This will be given to you. You will then have to find the area. This needs to be calculated. Now you can't go from perimeter to area of a sector straight away. What you will need to do is you'll have to find angle, or you will find the radius. Now one of these two will also be given to you. So they may give you perimeter and the angle. In that case, you'll find the radius. Once you know the radius, then you will be able to work out the area of that shape. There could also be a question which will not start from perimeter, but it might start from area. So in that case, area will be given. You'll have to find angle or the radius. So you'll go from here to this. Once you've got that, then you will find perimeter, and this will be calculated. Let's consider a question on this where they've given us the value of the perimeter, they've given us the angle, and the question is asking us to work out the area. So based on this information given to me in the question, I can say this side will be called x as well, because this is my radius, this is also my radius, and this side is called arc length. And I've been given the value of perimeter is given to me. And the question says I need to work out area. So this means I'm going from perimeter to area. Now I know I can't go from perimeter to area directly. What I'll do is I'll cross this section out. I'll go find out something. In this case, it's going to be either radius or the angle, and then I'll work out the area. In this case, if I look at it carefully, they've given me the value of angle, so I'll cross this out as well. Step 1 will be finding the value of r using the perimeter value. Once I know the value of r, then I will be able to work out the area. So let's quickly have a look. So I'm going to say first, write down the formula. Step 1 will be perimeter equals arc length plus 2 times r. The value of perimeter given to me is 210. I can put that on the left side. Arc length, I'll replace it with a formula which is theta over 360 times by 2 times pi times r bracket plus 2 times r. I've been given the value of angle as 30, so I can write down 210 equals 30 over 360 times by 2 times by pi times by r plus 2r. Put brackets around it. Now, if you put this section in your calculator, you don't have to put r because you can't put it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 30 divided by 360 times 2 pi. Let's see what the calculator will give me as my answer. So the calculator says the value is 0.52 rounded to 2 dp. So I can say this is 210 equals 0.52 r plus 2. Now these are like terms, so I can add them two together, and that will give me 210 being equal to 2.52 r. To find the value of r, I'll divide both sides by 2.52. 2.52. This is how we solve equations. If you don't know how to solve equations, click on the link provided in the description to watch the video on solving equations. These two will cancel out, giving you 1 on the right side. Just 1 times r will be r. On the left side, if you divide the two numbers together, the answer will be 83.2 centimeters. This is the value of the radius, which is rx in this case. Once I know the value of r, okay, I can write down this is my step 1. My step 2 is to find the area. So I can write down here step 2. You need to recall the formula. The formula is area equals angle over 360 times by, we have got two options. We can write it down in terms of diameter or in terms of radius. In this case, we know the value of radius. So I'll go ahead with the formula pi times r squared. Now you just have to plug in the values. The value of angle remains the same, which is 30 divided by 360 times by pi times, instead of r in bracket, make sure you put this square on top, because this is a very common mistake that students make. Don't be one of those, please. You can replace this r with this value, which is from step 1, 83.2. Now you can put all of this in your calculator, because on the left side it is a. If you plug this value in your calculator and solve it, you'll end up with a value being equal to 1812.9 centimeter squared. And this is my answer. So I've gone through one question. You may be asked a similar question in exam, but in your case, it could be, they may ask you find the perimeter of the sector, and they'll give you the value of area, either the angle or the radius will be missing. So in that case, your arrows will change. In this case, this is my step 1 and this was my step 2. In that case, this will become step 1 and this will become step 2. So the logic still remains the same. That's it on this topic. I hope you will find this video useful. If you enjoyed it, remember to like, share and subscribe. Stay safe, keep learning, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.